Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Leisha's Library. I am Leisha, the owner of this library. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in to this video. If this is your first time here, I appreciate you for watching. I hope that you enjoy what you see and decide to stick around. So as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about the authors that I want to read more of this year and beyond. Okay, so I have like a little short list and I have my iPad here, so I'm gonna be looking down because I have my notes and things on here. So first off, I want to start with Akwaeke Emezi. So Akwaeke Emezi, as if you watch my 2025 wrap, then you know that You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty was one of my favorite books of 2025. And that was my first book by Akwaeke Emezi. And then January got here and I read Son of the Morning. Crazy. So that was my first romantasy, and another way that I could kind of see if I like this author's writing style, and I thoroughly enjoyed it to the point where I'm going deep into that backlist, baby. I need to see what else is up in there, and so I have really grown to appreciate the writing style from Akwaeke Emezi and the way that they kind of tackle different topics. So with You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty, that kind of tackled the concept of grief. It was messy. I have come to the realization that it's gonna be a little messy in these books. My kind of party. I like the mess on the page, not off the page. But and even with Son of the Morning, even though the big theme of it was religion, it also like dove deep into familial secrets and the way that familial relationships can affect how you grow up and the way that you see life and the way that you express yourself. And I thought that was so intriguing. So I am super excited to dive deeper into their backlist to kind of explore the range of their work, because they have bounced in between different genres and I'm a fan. So next up, this one is a little daunting, but I'm ready for it. So I want to read more of Toni Morrison this year. So Toni Morrison, I have always known that she is one of the greats. When it comes to people who can't be effed with, she is one of them. Okay, so she's on that list of people we don't talk about in a negative light around these parts. But Toni Morrison, I appreciate the way that her work has been reviewed and the way that she has accomplished so much. So she literally won a Nobel Peace Prize for her writing. So I need to see what it's talking about. And I actually read my first Toni Morrison book this month, which we will talk about that in my February wrap up. So stay tuned for that video. But yeah, that one, I really appreciate it. You do have to turn your brain on. Okay, big brain energy around this joint. Because you do have to turn your brain on to understand and really soak in Toni Morrison's writing style and her words and the message that she's trying to get across. And I really appreciate that, because yes, actually, turn my brain on, Toni. Turn it on. We are knee deep in a literacy crisis, baby. Yes, I do indeed need to turn that brain on. So I really want to dive deep into her. I have a few other of her books. I'm not sure if I have any in here, but I have a few more of her books. I definitely want to get and expand the collection. Although is this a safe space? I don't like the new covers that they just released for her books. Sorry, but yeah. So gonna have to try to find old ones. But I definitely want to read more of her books. I have a few other on my shelf. I definitely want to read The Bluest Eye. I have not read that one. That was not the one that I read, but I do think it's going to be next up on the list. I heard that it's like a second, good way to kind of tiptoe into her work. So I definitely want to do that. And so, yeah, we're going to be reading more of Toni Morrison this year and beyond. The next author on my list is Casey Mills. Casey Mills, I have not read a Casey Mills book that I dislike. And I just was put onto her work last year, because last year was the year that I I really got into my digital book era. So I really started diving deep into Kindle, and I was put on to so many like super talented indie authors, black indie authors at that. And I really wanted to dive deeper into it. So I read a bunch of Casey Mills books. I don't say a bunch. I read at least about two or three. I'm not sure, but I definitely will be reading more Casey Mills. I actually ordered some physical copies of her books, and I will be reading those. But I do know that I'm a fan of her writing style. I really do appreciate the way that she writes books, and I really want to dive deeper into her books, and I will be doing that digitally and physically. So I'm excited for that as well. The next up is another indie author, Charity Shanae. So I read like 8 books by Charity Shanae last year. Also off that being fresh into the Kindle Unlimited world and being privy to the digital book world. And yeah, Charity Shanae was right up there with Casey Mills, and I was like super enthralled in her writing, and man, I haven't read a book by her that I did not like either. And I actually she had some books that were, of course, just those that are kind of just like novellas and really light. She had a couple eroticas up in there that I enjoyed. But honestly, the books that I enjoyed most by her were the ones that were a little longer, a little more in depth, that you kind of explore different things. And a couple of books that I actually read digitally, I do want to order physically to have on my shelf because they deserve space on this shelf. And so I want to continue to read more of Charity Shanae's books, and I just want to go deeper because I know that she has plenty of books for me to choose from. So I need to see what that backlist is talking about. Okay. And yeah, I'm super excited about that. Next up, we're gonna take it back to one of the authors that needs to be revered, and that is none other than James Baldwin. Okay, so James Baldwin is one of the greats, honestly. And I read Giovanni's Room last year, and I was just like, okay, I get it. And honestly, I don't think that I fully understood Giovanni's Room like I needed to at that moment. But now, as it has been probably a year now or coming up on a year since I've read Giovanni's Room, I get it. Things are starting to click. Like, things are making more sense. I understood the message then, but the message... it got so much clearer now. And I really want to dive deeper into James Baldwin's work. I actually want to start with Go to the Mountain because I want to read Dominion this year, and I heard that those are good to read in tandem with each other. So I definitely want to dive deeper into his work, and not only his fiction, but his nonfiction as well. So I do want to read The Fire next time. I really want to dive deep into all of his work, and eventually I do want to read all of his catalog. I'm just going to take my time because, like Tony, your brain got to be on to understand what James Baldwin is saying. And sidebar, I want to read more of his work, so when I start reading Richard Wright, I can really see what they beef was about because we got to talk about it. That might be a whole video. Like, that might be a video. Let me know if y'all would be interested in reading the works of the authors that were beefing. Cause, baby, that was messy. it got a little murky around them parts. So let me know if y'all would want to be like y'all would want to see that. So yeah. And then next up on the list is Danielle Allen. So Danielle Allen, I read Curvy Girl Summer and Plus Size Player last year. And I know Big Girl Bliss, the third book in the Curve series, is coming out in April. But yo, I need to dive deeper into that lady catalog too because Plus Size Player, I thoroughly enjoyed Plus Size Player and Curvy Girl Summer. Plus Size Player was the better of the two for me personally. It just got a little too like, girl, please. I just feel like it was dragging a little bit, but that's also personal opinion. But I audibly laughed several times reading those books, and I really enjoyed the writing style. I enjoyed that the conflicts in there were realistic and not just like Ain't nobody saying that for real. You know what I'm saying? So I really wanted to dive deeper into her backlist as well. I do have Broken Clocks by her already, and I have not read it. I heard it's a little um dark, maybe I believe. And I ain't really in the mood for that right now. But I do want to dive deeper into her catalog, especially with the third book in the series coming out. So I definitely will be reading more of Nadia Allen in 2026 and beyond. The next book on the not next book, yikes. The next author on my list should it might be a surprise, but India Carter. Okay, India Carter, Big Mama India. Okay, that Danger series. I can't wait to get my hands on the physical copy because I need that. You think you need? I need that. I need that. I need that series on my shelf in the physical form because, like, I feel like the people talk about it and they talk about it because of the smut or whatever the girls be calling it. And I mean, yeah, it was cool, but like the outside of that, zooming out of that, the deeper conversations that was going on, the way that it was like the family story, the way that it all connected across, and we got to see the full thing play out across the span of 3 different books. Outside of the brothers having their own relationships and rendezvous and whatnot, that family, oh my God, I be thinking about that like so much and like in passing, and I just be like, yeah, I. I find myself being like, dang, I wonder what happened to them. Because it was just that good. And I do know that she has other books, and I definitely want to dive deeper into her backlist as well. And yeah, the Dangerous series hooked me. And I was like, yeah, I need that on my shelf, and I cannot wait to read more of India's books. So she is definitely an author that I want to read more of in the future. And next up is Eric Jerome Dickey. So Eric Jerome Dickey, I've read what book was that? I read one of his books. It's escaping me right now. I read one of his books last year, and The Business of Lovers. Oh my God, that book was so funny. It was so messy. It was so interesting because it challenged. It was the first time that I had. I'm pretty sure it might have been the first time that I read a book where the main character was a man, and it didn't necessarily center the female perspective. It featured it, but it didn't center it. And the bigger story was around this man and him navigating life and all of that. And I really enjoyed that because we get to see from the man's perspective how men kind of fall in love, get attached, like, and just have these emotional battles and conflicts within themselves that we don't get to see often. Well, I don't necessarily see often from the male's perspective. And so I definitely enjoyed reading The Business of Lovers, and I definitely want to dive deeper into his work. I do have another book of his on my shelf, but there are a couple others that I want to read for sure because I do think I saw one that was made into a movie. And yeah, I'm really excited to read that. And then Eric Jerome Dickey was from Memphis, baby. That's in my backyard. I need to see what he was in there talking about. Okay, so yeah, I definitely want to read more of Eric Jerome Dickey coming this year and beyond. Okay, so next up, the author I want to read more of in 2026 and beyond is Natasha Bishop. Okay, so Natasha Bishop, baby, I read it Only for the Week in 2024, and then I read it again in 2024, and then I read it again in 2025, and now we're getting book 2 in the series. I believe in April. Need that, and I definitely want to get more into her work too. She has this series that I know one of the books features a firefighter, and the other one, I don't know what the other 2 feature, but I will put them on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. That series alone, I definitely wanted to read. I just couldn't get it. Like, I don't know what's going on. And because I think I wanted a certain copy of it. Like, I wanted a certain cover, and I think the hardcover and the paperback were different. I think that's what the issue was. But either way, I want to read more of her work, especially with the re-release of the traditional release of Only for the Week and the next book in the series coming out. I definitely want to read that, and I really fell in love with it. Only for the Week was so messy, but I loved it because yeah, Janelle deserved everything that came to her, cause them people was doing her dirty, and I didn't play about her. Okay, so I definitely want to read more of Natasha Bishop's writing. I loved her writing style. I really loved the way that she approached characters. And I love that it was messing the books, but not like necessarily catty. It was a lot of deeper issues that was going on, and it didn't just like stick to where it was surface level. We got deeper. We had a deeper conversation, and also mixed in with a little spice, a little fun. I need that, so thank you. So yes, I definitely want to read more of Natasha Bishop's work in 2026 and beyond. And last but not least, I want to read more of Bell Hooks. So if you have been, I would assume, if you have been like following me for a while, then you know last year I read All About Love, and it was one of my favorite books. And was it last year? Yeah, no, 2024. I read All About Love, and it was one of my favorite books, and I annotated the hell out of that book, baby. And it's a lot of things in that book that I think stick with me, and I understood why Bell Hooks is Bell Hooks, baby. Like, she be talking that talk, and she can back it up with that pen. And I really wanted to continue to read, so I'm currently reading the second book in that series, and hopefully I finish it before this month's over. We shall see. Tune into the February wrap up. But I also just want to dive deeper into her work beyond this trilogy that I know is so well revered. I want to read about she has a book called Art on My Mind, and it talks about visual politics. I want to read that. I want to read The Will for Change. I just really want to dive deeper into her work, and I'm taking my time to do that because your brain do got to be on for Bell Hooks too. You can't just take it lightly. They do. It needs to be on, okay? And that's why it's kind of been taking me so long to kind of get through Salvation, because your brain got to be on, baby. You got to use that thinking cap. And Bell Hooks don't make sure you use it, or you're going to miss the messages, because it's multiple messages within her writing. But I definitely appreciate her writing style. I appreciate the thought and the care and the intention that she has put into her work. And I want to do it justice by reading through it carefully and intentionally and when I'm ready. So I believe that this is the beginning of me being ready. So I want to continue to read it. I definitely want to read Communion this year. I'm finishing Salvation this year. Hopefully this month. We shall see. But I definitely want to read Communion to finish out the series. And then next up, I want to read Art on My Mind. So we shall see. I will definitely keep y'all posted on that. But those are the authors. I think it's about 10. Those are the authors that I want to read more of in 2026 and beyond. And if you have an author that you want to read more of that was not mentioned on my list, let me know. If I have mentioned an author that was also on your list for authors you want to read more of, let me know. I want to see what our taste is looking like. Okay, friend? So until next time, hold on. If you stayed through this whole video and you really appreciate it, I don't know, leave me a brown heart. I'm feeling, it's Black History Month. Leave me a brown heart in the comments, and then also make sure you subscribe and like this video. Do whatever you gotta do to, show your appreciation, because I appreciate y'all. And that is it for this video. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Down until next time in the library. Bye, y'all.